Since when does Scarlett have bad macro? I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen Scarlett macro in the last few years. No, I mean, she's got very good creep spread, but I do think Scarlett definitely dropped off a lot since her prime, and is definitely at times looking like she's on her way back there, but then also sometimes just has these games that are just that just do the exact opposite again, right? Like sometimes she starts looking really good, and then she just has those games where it's like, oh god, Scarlett, like why can't you get past the 5-minute mark without being behind against Terrence, you know? Special top right, Scarlett bottom left, it's Oblivion, and we'll see who is able to take the lead for that team as it's 1-1, and SpeCial going to send SCVs out across the map. Of course, he does have Latin America DreamHack later today, and had it last night too, so worth keeping in mind that that's something he'll want to make sure he finishes up quickly here and gets some rest for, although it's in quite a few hours, so I don't think it should be any sort of major issue for SpeCial. Just a reminder that he has been focused on that as well, and that might mean not as much preparation for this specific match. If you're focused on your DreamHack games, etc. Scarlett's DreamHack starts next week, so she'll have the same issue next week when NA is on, about having to play her Team League match and having her DreamHack matches to be thinking about at the same time. Sub 2 ranks on the left side, gas behind it, so we will have the transition ready in here as well. Scarlett fell off when she went to China. Scarlett didn't fall off when she went to China. She took a massive break to play Dota and Brood War, and she really kind of, SC2 definitely had a downward swing then. Which was followed by her then going to China, but it wasn't because she went to China per se. Have you seen the SCV coming down and putting up the bunker? Scarlett will see it, so we'll be able to start responding to this right now. See what she is going to be aiming for. Is another SCV coming through. Marina's on the way. Marina's doing some good damage here. Doing some real damage to these drones, actually, as 2-3 workers going down. It's actually a big drone pull, of course, but SpeCial getting the most out of this, and with Reapers on the follow-up as well, I feel like you're happy with this. You slow down the economy a lot. Now you're going to have Reapers showing up against a, a minimized set of units because there's been, drones pulling against you, up until now. I don't really hate this for SpeCial at all. Let's see what these Reapers can do. They'll be heading towards the main, I thought, but actually maybe not. The Marines are heading home, so I don't know where the Reapers are at all. Are they heading home? They're heading home, so they're going to go and catch the Zerglings. There's the Reaper. I just didn't know where it was, and again, I'm not the observer here, guys, just casting off the clean feed, so sometimes not 100% sure where things exactly are and can't just quickly check. One lane gets into the main, which will have a scout, which is nice. Sends a couple SCVs to deal with it. Just wanted to keep the other units at the front, apparently. Didn't want to bring those too far away too quickly. Tarek's still just floating around overhead and keeping an eye on things. A couple of command centers still coming through. Factory on the way up. Overlords and Queens building. All of this just continuing on in. Link speed will be coming in once again, so just getting that started up and waiting to continue onwards as we have Reapers just still looking to see if they can do any damage here, right? Definitely should be possible. Queens are well positioned though, so not going to allow them to gain any opportunities. Nicely done. Yeah, feelings moving through. Guess there's a couple of Reapers down, so doing pretty well there. Obviously just a lot of setting up as the Fusion Core drops in, so we're actually going to see a Battlecruiser opener. Interesting. We're just going to head out into the center. And just going to be seeing the couple Hellions and Reapers kind of moving through as well. So just going to be heading down towards the bottom. You get a couple grenades there. There's a creep tumor that gets picked off. And the third hatchery on the forward position as well is going to be obviously sighted. So Scarlett taking the forward third base. We'll see if SpeCial uses that against her. Is building Banshee. Probably cancels the Banshee knowing that there's no aggression coming his way now. And starts up the battlecruiser. Yep. A Banshee is one of those things where you just keep it if you're going to be in trouble and if you need the extra defense. If you don't need the extra defense, you cancel it absolutely. 100% of the time is what you want to be doing. So, yeah, right idea there. Pretty much just kind of playing the game as is scripted thus far. That BC still coming through then and getting that online. There's a couple of gases extras. The SpeCial looking as though he really is going to follow this up with mech as well. So, a bit of mech from SpeCial to start us out here in this series. I kind of like it. It's kind of cute. A bit different. Wonder how well Scarlett plays against mech. Oh, she goes Bane now. She sees now right now though. She goes Bane, Speed, and Spire. I feel like right now is the moment where you cancel one of those and you go like Roach Roaring or something and you really set up to play versus mech with roaches. If you continue in with Ling Bane right now, very difficult game to play with Ling Bane. I mean, it's possible, but more recently we've really seen people flop with Ling Bane against mech than we've seen them succeed, so not loving it as these BC shows up with these Hellions. Those drones stacked up, moving into position. SpeCial sees it too. Kind of dove for it and ended up getting hit by the Banelings. There's another stack of drones, oh my goodness. 10 drones dead at the moment as the battlecruiser is going to fight until the death apparently with these queens. Gets one and gets two. Last queen just goes down as the BC falls. I mean, okay, you killed off all the queens. You killed 11 drones. Obviously, losing the Hellions isn't that big of a deal because you're in a position here where you're going to rebuild a lot of your Hellions because you're playing mech. Oh, wow, that was a... well, that was a hell of an attack from SpeCial, and I feel like that goes well enough for him absolutely to put him into a very comfortable position right now. So SpeCial should be feeling good. Let's see if he can turn that into something else as we continue through. I can't believe that BC got the queen as the queen got the BC. That was so close. It's weird, because obviously losing the BC typically feels bad, but I think for killing off all the queens, I actually feel like that it's somewhat okay. It's tough. I mean, do you want to save it? The thing is, if you save the BC, three more queens stay alive too. I think with the damage the Hellions did as well, though, overall, you're kind of okay with that because there's also a lot of Ling Bane that ended up dying as well. So yeah, I feel like you just take that one especially, and you're happy with it. I mean, look at the supplies coming out of this. SpeCial ahead in workers, double the army supply as well. He is already killing it when it comes to the follow-up here, so SpeCial is absolutely set to have a great game from here on out. Let's see if he can play it out, of course, because playing mech oftentimes does lead you into that problem where, well, you're playing mech, and a lot of people struggle to end the game with mech when they're playing ZvT. It's a difficult composition to end the game with, honestly. I mean, it just isn't very good. You know, people, you can be ahead with mech and just not end the game at all. It's just the way that the style works. It gives the Zerg a lot of time and chances to get back into the game, it feels like a lot of the time. So, yeah, we'll see how SpeCial does with it, see if he can avoid some of the common problems here. As that BC moves around that bottom side and again getting set up to see what else it might be able to do. Yeah, BC obviously that's just going to fight. Can take down a meter or two here before it falls or before it's forced to teleport away. That's always going to be nice, right? If you're building these meters, then you end up losing some of them. Ain't pretty. And as the meters all fly back, you obviously start to get some drones. Contaminate to slow down further BC production. Just slowing you down a little bit there. I was going to be seeing Hellions are back and even more drones again roasted, and SpeCial really having a great go of this first game. Looking to put PSISTORM up in the series after MaxPax was able to tie it up with Bjorn. If you've just tuned in, MaxPax Bjorn was actually a lot of fun, and SpeCial Scarlett so far has been pretty fiery. A lot of units going down, a lot of units feeling the wrath of battle cruisers and Hellion fire. I just don't know what these meters do, honestly. I feel like this is the problem. Scarlett's committed to so many meters, and what have they done so far? They've flown around the map defending, and yet she's still been taking damage. So yeah, SpeCial just builds Thors, keeps on running a few units around, keeps himself safe from mutas, and eventually one mega push from SpeCial basically ends this game because Scarlett just has no way of actually dealing with the army that SpeCial is now amassing. I mean, she's starting to build roaches, but again, the investment into mutas just means that SpeCial has such a jump on the overall army composition and so on. These mutas have just not been worth their money at all. PC's on the bottom side, gonna harass again. May get a base cancel, maybe I feel like better to go for mineral line, but probably just settle for the base cancel for now, or just kind of forcing these mutas to once again turn around and come home. We'll see. No Yamato yet, by the way, so they're just going to instantly teleport, not going to try and do anything too fancy trading out at all. Pretty content with themselves there, it seems. Yeah, Albat's just showing up, and again, just one of those things that Scarlett has to now go deal with, while the rest of the army is elsewhere. Now, the Thors are coming down this right side as well. So they're about to show up, and that means that the mutas are not going to be able to do much over in this position. Few Banes finishing. Oh my god, drones are pulling through Hellbat, so that's where the worker count is dropping, as we're going to be seeing these Banelings will go in for, what, a Thor 2? Well, they don't get kills, they just hit the Thor 2, and obviously don't even get close to killing them. Some slight damage, and I get the feeling that might not make the difference for the mutas being able to engage into this. So Scarlett, again, a large chunk of her army supply is just unable to engage into this. The corrosive vials at least have been good so far, using those to great effect to land on the Thors, and obviously slow Thors can't dodge out the way easy. And catching reinforcements, right idea of the mutas. Overseer sets off the Widowmine too. So right idea from Scarlett on the follow-up now at least. Will it be enough, or is it already too late? Personally feeling like it might already be a bit too late. Let's find out as Roaches coming in over here. BC's going to help with this fight as well. And if BC's just sit here this entire time, well, it ain't going to be pretty. Thors are getting the shots needed on those mutas as well. So that's continuing to be a downward spiral of pain. You're going to clean up these Thors, but obviously Scarlett lost so much in the process. The battle cruisers aren't being dealt with at all. And now she's rebuilding mutas, which, I mean, I kind of get it given what's going on here, but I mean, you need some sort of anti-air against the BCs, but obviously, I mean, we don't want mutas, right? Like, at the end, you just don't want mutas right now. I'm sorry, you don't. You really, really don't, as we're going to see a factory getting contaminated. You see a couple of BCs going through for a little bit more creep spread, just denying all of the map control that Scarlett had. Did have decent creep on the map. Obviously, that's not really advanced or progressed in quite a long time now, so it's just been something that's slowly been withering away as SpeCial gets into better and better positions in this game. Oh, BC's even just getting the teleports out of there as well, right? It's just frustrating as Hellions try for a few more drones. SpeCial has this game really under control, guys. Would love to make it a bit more exciting, but everything that SpeCial is doing is just the right thing, and Scarlett's always just trying to play catch-up, and she never has any time to plan her own attacks or plan her own ways to deal damage to get back into this or anything along those lines. And that really is the problem towards the end here, that she just has no real plan of action to take a step back into the game at all. Which is rough, but such is life sometimes, and that's what happens when you have a rough early game, and that's my biggest problem with Scarlett right now in TVZ. She can't seem to get into a good position in the game because she just seems to die earlier than, I mean, not really die, but she takes a lot of damage early, so she's always playing from behind to begin with, right? She's already always playing from behind, and that obviously really, really sucks. Catching these BCs again. This time one doesn't teleport out. We're going to Yamato a couple mutas and then just teleport away. Cyclone showing up again with the muta count having rebuilt. SpeCial's probably a bit like, really? Like, they really didn't do that well for you the first time around. Are we really sure we want to go for round 2 with these? Might have had him a little bit caught off guard initially. Not ready to build up Thors again. Not expecting they'd be necessary in the slightest, but again, alas, here we are. As mutas are putting some pressure in, harassing the central base of SpeCial as the Thor shots, though. And that's the issue. One Thor shot, boom. You know, mutas are just gone. And if those mutas are gone, well, yeah, done is done, right? Gonna see the Thor's gonna come through, open up some rocks, just make movement around the map a little easier for this army as well. Just maybe able to chase the meters down in certain positions a little more easily too. So the other thing is that look kind of nice for you. As we get ourselves otherwise setting on up for a little bit more action. Just going to be seeing Hellbat's Thor's pushing in for this attack. So major fight happening in the upcoming few moments as we do see some Bane's going to roll in. Not really doing too much immediately. We are going to see the rest of this army now showing up. Bane Ravager rolling on forward, guys. So in we go. And it feels like the Banelings do nothing. They kill a few of these Widow Mines at the end, which is nice. But yeah, the Thors are going to get rid of the mutas, and Scarlett knows this is over. SpeCial is able to take this one. Boom, boom, boom. SpeCial going to put PSISTORM Gaming into the lead of this series, and in pretty dominating fashion. This game felt comfortable for him start to finish. Hey, Jagannatha. One of my few criticisms of the World Team League. The bar chart. Alright, bottom left, our red Zerg is Scarlett. It's another $5 donation. PL dropping $5. Buff mutas already. Useless unit at the moment. They have their place, right? They're in a bit of a weird place, I suppose, because they're not being used as much as they used to be. The problem is mutas in the right circumstance can still already, can still be very strong, right? That's the big problem, I would say. Just going to be seeing a hatchery going down. Special option to wall up the front. He's actually going to go for second racks. It's kind of a weird build when you kind of wall the front. It is at least on the right side of the map. He did this the other day in LATAM, and he actually ran into a lot of trouble against Jim Rising, and he was able to salvage the game. Against someone like Scarlett, it might be a little bit tougher. We'll see what he fully goes into. Like, is he really just going to build Reapers here and go Reaper microing across the map to try and deal some damage? I suppose let's find out. I see a lot of people complaining about Scarlett's macro score, guys. I think it's fair to say that Scarlett over... If you tell me Scarlett had a 6 on macro like 2 years ago, I agree with you or something, but... Or even 3 years ago or something, but like nowadays... Scarlett, like, she plays a lot of cheesier stuff. And her macro game hasn't been as good. You know, a lot of the games she's winning is off of the faster aggression, getting leads early game. It's not off of just solid macro play nowadays. I think that's definitely counted into the score. When you look at the score, some of the plays you have a 7 or an 8 on macro. I don't think it's too ludicrous to give her a 6. I don't necessarily think it's 100% true, per se. Just trying to bring some defense to it. But if I was to predict what happens in a big Scarlett game nowadays, I wouldn't go and say oh yeah, her macro is going to be what shines here, I would say her strategy and her crazier builds are what really shines in her matchups. Reaper's fighting the Lings a little bit as the Queen going to get pushed back. Obviously, we're going to have a few more Reapers coming through to keep up the pressure. And this will not slow down the third base at all, which is good for Scar to have that down already. I always wondered when you see flashes of white light on the player cam, are they all tapping out? What's up, Bush? Thank you for the 54-month resub. No, they're not tapping out. It's when certain areas of the map are lighter than others, right? If they click into the fog of war, that's a darker area, and it's just there's not a lot of light in the rooms. The slight lighting difference makes a big difference. So they're not tapping out. They're just going to different places on the map that have some different lighting and stuff. Obviously, you're always flicking back home to macro, inject, and stuff. It just seems very dramatic. It feels like they're pulling up a full-on, light mode web page. But it's just because there's very little light in their rooms to begin with. Do have ourselves a couple of Hellions still coming through here, continuing. And just going to be having the armory building up as well. So we're going to see a Hellbat attack. Hellbat's fairly popular here on Jag and Nather in general, just because it's not a great terra map, so you often try and get an early lead and roll from there. So it looks as though that's going to be at least somewhat our initial intentions. We'll see how this goes. I see this push moving out, so this is going to be the push that tells us a lot about how this game is going to be going. As Marines are here, the Hellbat's going to get ready to morph in. Scarlett's on her way to a Roach run, but it is not ready yet, so she might not have the units needed to defend this, as Lings at least do pull back to get a little bit defensive initially. It's going to start pushing forward. Queen's in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, the Hellbat's going to start hitting that hatchery as well, so that's going to take some damage. A few drones going down. Now, obviously, the Queen's here actually doing okay because the Marines were fighting the hatch a little bit too, and the Reaper's not getting involved. We're going to start dropping to the main. A few drones down. Not the worst from SpeCial or Scarlett, really. It's kind of an intriguing situation, like a little bit unique. You don't often see a Hellbat attack just back off so easily a lot of the time. Drone's still dropping, by the way. The attack on the main base gets up to 9 workers killed. So now it's absolutely a little bit worse off for Scarlett than it once was. It definitely has taken a step in the wrong direction, unfortunately for her, just in those last few moments. Costing her a little bit more than she would have liked it to. Just going to see this Overlord taking a little bit more damage as well, so we'll be taking a few more hits. And as the Queens come through, pushing that medevac back once again. Marines and a medevac will continue along and just going to get back home. Well, I do like how much you've been able to, save here as SpeCial. Being able to keep a lot of these units alive definitely is a bit of a statement. We're going to play 1-1 Roaches as we go bio from SpeCial this time. Kind of funny, I feel like this is not the game you play. I feel like this is not your kind of Roach map usually, but Roaches it will be. And we'll see how it plays with Scarlett as SpeCial takes a forward expansion. Scarlett kind of 4th base down on the bottom side of the map, has our 3 base already set up, so already has something lined up here to begin with at least. As we drop a little changeling, a couple more barracks going to get going. And just a bit of build up here initially while we see that medevac currently sneaking down that left-hand side, going to be in the main in a moment or two. And just looking to try and get a little bit more damage done once more here. Just going to try and go from there. See what might be done is a few Reapers just harassing around trying to help. Love that they still got a few Reapers. We'll see if you can actually use them in a fight. Like, if you can actually use these Reapers to say, for example, if you use these Reapers and you get a couple bops off, they can actually be very effective. They can be very annoying. And actually they can misdirect the fight a little bit. So you just try and target down the hatchery, but obviously the Queens show up and they transfuse, so targeting down the hatchery doesn't really go very far as a link counterattack. Those units here to deal with this. The Scarlett's not finding anything on the counterattack. SpeCial is very well defended so far. Not letting anything get out of hand at all. Like I say, keeping things pretty well under control for the most part. As Roach is still gathering from Scarlett. As 1-1 complete, she's building a lot of them. She only really has 3 base saturation. Building a couple extra drones now, but we'll see if she really means to keep building extra drones. It's going to be a big part of the question, I suppose, in the next few moments, as otherwise these Marines in the center are looking to just meet these Roaches head on. Just really confident, gets a couple Queens right away, as Scarlett really is, just pushing with this. Absolutely looking to just get a massive push attack going. SpeCial's building some bunkers, but with his attack so far, has been able to buy himself a lot of really good time for himself, right? Just a lot of time bought this far, and you see bunkers cancelled, but With this amount of time, both tanks are sieged up. Let's see. SCVs pull in. You just want to make sure you don't die to this initial swarm of Zerg. Scarlett's got a lot. Only one tank in the back here still sieged up. She's going to get through that now. 23 SCVs died. This base has to lift off and make space, make way. Oh, wow. I think Scarlett might actually be doing this. The next tank is still on the high ground as well. Kind of out of position, really. Scarlett's supply absolutely loading up a little bit from what it once was. Definitely getting into something of an advantage here, and still attacking, still fighting. She gets rid of the tank high ground too, so the next tank is also gone. Big stuff at the moment. Feel like you gotta give credit to Scarlett. She's played kind of not the expected style on Jaggernath there. Snipes down 2 medevacs there with the Biles as well. But she's actually going to get the job done, it seems. I really thought SpeCial was buying a lot of time initially. Was buying enough time. Oh my goodness, 2 more medevacs piled down. SpeCial's typing out GG, and I'll come back to what I talked about previously, where I say, you know, Scarlett was always one to step up when the team needed to. She absolutely steps up a little bit here again. So, yeah, I would have to say that that's probably where it comes from. People are still mad about Bjorn having 8 micro, but guys, Bjorn literally walked into a disruptor shot and lost like 40 supply. I mean, like, that isn't exactly number 10 micro right there. Like, I appreciate in the past Bjorn was a 10 micro, but I really don't think he is nowadays. I really do not. He has his moments, but I also don't think he's... I don't think we should be as outrageous as we are. They're just fun stats, guys. They're just fun stats as we get set up to go a little bit here and get ourselves moving in this game number 1 between GuMiho and Lambo. GuMiho top left, Lambo bottom left, and that means we get close spawns to begin with. As what's up, Vipnet? Thank you so much for the sub. Yes, this map is super old, guys. People are going to ask this again. This is a very old map. Personally, I don't think it works very well in Legacy of the Void, but it's here, so we will obviously just play with it. Lambo did mention, of course, as well on Twitter, he was the person that brought up that players or teams can no longer set their players based on the first map. So now, you know, in the past they were given 3 maps and they would each pick a player for each map. And that created a lot of strategy because you could put like a Zerg on like a map, you know, you could try and snipe players based on what maps you might think the other team might send players out on, etc. This season, that's not a thing. This season, it's very much so a case of you just pick an order, you say, hey, I'm going to send, well, in this case, you know, Bjorn first, Scarlett second, Lambo third. You pick that order, and once that order is done, it's just like that. Then you just play against the order of your opponents as well. Basically, that is it, you know. So, yeah, I mean, this means that Lambo doesn't necessarily pick to play on Frost, and Lambo, oh, you see that little shake of the head? That's because he's disappointed in the spawn locations, because he does not want it to be top spawn versus bottom spawn. This is not a pretty set of, it's not a pretty position to play against, because the Terran in these spawns especially can take that forward base, like this base here, this Reaper walks past, and when you take that base, you have a really easy attack path down the left, and it makes it very difficult for the Zerg to take their base here, so they probably have to take their 4th base on the bottom side of the map, on the bottom right. Now, Dark didn't do that earlier when playing against Ryung, and then he did kind of get away with it, but we'll see if Lambo tries to get away with it, or if he does just try and take the bottom right corner instead. Typically, I would imagine his 4th base goes in the bottom right of the map, which is quite far away, so we will see. But it is still expanding away from the Terran, which is your one saving grace, until the Terran plays a really good dropping game, and then it's difficult to take that base as well. So do you see a couple of Hellions coming out? The starport is on the way in as well. All of this continuing up as expected this far. Don't think anyone is too crazy about what's happened here. It's obviously just been pretty normal. We're even going to see Overlord speed from Lambo, so really just wants to keep tabs on GuMiho. Wants a good scout as to what he's doing. Wants to know exactly what the plan is. Doesn't want to be caught off guard by anything. Wants to know early as well if GuMiho is going to play bio or mech. I know a lot of people like to scream, GuMiho plays mech all the time, but he doesn't. He plays a good amount of bio builds as well in TVZ, so it's good to know what you're playing against when you're playing someone like GuMiho, who is going to go Fusion Core early. We are going to see some battle cruisers once again. So yeah, we are going to set up into some BCs. I like it. I mean, it's a fun way to start, and it's definitely, I think, something GuMiho can do well within his own kind of style. So I like that, as we do just have our Overlord scouting up the left-hand side. And otherwise, just going to be seeing this other Overlord scouting into the main base also. So a couple scouts here, Hellions and a Reaper, going to do their best to deal some damage at the same time on the bottom of the map. He's actually going to get a drone transferring. That's not a major issue until they get a mineral line. Like, one drone, fine. If they get into a mineral line and get a few drones, then you're in a problematic position. Lambo's going to drop the roach drone, so he's going to straight away be starting to play a little bit more towards kind of what we would say is a normal way to play against mech, or a little bit more of a normalized answer to mech. That's obviously because he gets a really good scout on it early as well, that Overlord speed helping, so he knows exactly what he's up against early. As he goes into the lair, the plan will be roaches to defend early on the ground. You get the lair up, you get a Spire out, that means you can get Corruptors into play, and those Corruptors go a long way to making sure you're very safe as the game continues. You need to make sure you're going to be safe against those BCs. You cannot let the BCs get out of control, because the BCs being out of control really does dispel absolute disaster for you as the game progresses. Hellions and Reaper get turned away again by the few queens. And still just pushing this back. I'm really intrigued to see where the fourth base of Lambo goes. I don't know if he can get it to the bottom right corner of the map, actually. I think he might just have to settle for the kind of the quadrant, the bottom left quadrant in general. It's just against mech. I can see him losing that forward base very easily. Then it gives GuMiho a really easy push. Great counterattack will delay the third. Shouldn't get a cancel, right? Hellions on the way back. He might, though. Things go to the other side. Hellions will have to line up their shots. The damage reduces as the Hellions get the damage done. Oh, that was close, though. I mean, that's really problematic if you have that third base straight up cancelled. Good attempt from Lambo. Pulls the Hellions back as well. Gives him some time to maybe get set up. As a Spire drops down. Obviously, we are seeing mech from GuMiho. We saw the gases. We saw the factories being added. So, we're not meant to be surprised by that or anything at the moment. SpeCial will grab an Overlord. Or at least get close to it. Good transfusion. Lambo on point with his defense, really minimizing losses to the best of his ability so far. Man, that little animal is howling. You guys hear the little howl on the critter? I keep hearing it howl, and I'm like, what the hell is that? That's crazy. Not heard that in a while. I wonder if they have like ambient noises or something on that's not usually turned on when I cast, so it's like just like a sound setting thing more so than just the critter. Possible. Very, very possible. BC still making its way around the bottom, and BC chasing an Overlord around the top. Lambo with that Overlord speed is like, yep, I'm going to take you for a walk. You know, where do you want to go for your walks today, Mr. Overlord? Top side of Frost? Sure thing. Pack your woolly jumper. It's going to be chilly. So Overlord is walking the BC around the top side of the map. Meanwhile, we've got ourselves Hellions still poking around. Lambo still no fourth base. I feel like he's just going to go. Corruptor Roach, no Roach speed yet, but it's on the way. Did he forget that? Because his lair's obviously been done a while. I mean, he could just go for an all-out bust, but off 3 bases, a little bit less macro options than usual. Guess we're going to see. Is this going to be an hour-long game? No, it's going to end in the next 2.5 minutes, I think. If even that. If this game goes past 10 minutes, it depends how the attack goes from Lambo. It's very possible it goes in such a way the game continues. Lambo wants to be aggressive because he needs to take the aggression from the Terran away. He needs the Terran to be on the defensive so he can get away with his fourth base in that bottom left side, which is exactly what he will do, and we've talked about why it's a trouble getting that fourth base there. So yeah, it really is just a situation of that right now as Corruptor's coming up, and then there's a factory down, I believe. A barracks, actually, sorry. Obviously makes sense for it to be a barracks out here, not a factory. Hellions wolfing into Hellbats. This attack of Lambo is preparing to go. The Rax lands. He's just going to kill it. It's just one less thing you can accidentally click on as the fight happens, right? So, not a bad thing. As we start to push in, I mean, you just do not get on top of the tanks here easily at all. That high ground is so difficult. Lambo Oh, he's going to have to just try and fight around the base. The thing is, a lot of GuMiho's defense is very set back. So if that defense is so far back, you know, Lambo can kind of just sit away and maybe deal damage to the base instead. The Corruptors have gotten rid of the BCs. Now there is no anti-air up, so these BCs will, or the Corruptors, sorry, will be able to get a lock on and caustic spray down at base most likely in the main, or at least do some damage. Yep, they straight up kill the main orbital, so Lambo is able to kill that. He's delaying the CC on the low ground, so now a 2-base GuMiho. This started really well for GuMiho, but then Lambo realized what he wanted to do here, or what he needed to do to improve his position and actually to give him a better shot in the current setup. So, yeah, Lambo making some adjustments as the fight happened, realized the way to play this. It's a beautiful bile, gets rid of 2 siege tanks. That's always going to be good, right? Can't complain about a double tank kill. Trying to rebuild a command center in the main base, as we got the one on the low ground for the 4th base getting ready, but at this point the 4th base should never really get up because Lambo should just have such a swell of units. It's going to be tough for GuMiho to bring his units out of that defensive 3-base setup into a 4-base setup. That's much more difficult to defend. It's going to be really tough to do that without Lambo just jumping on him and killing him. So GuMiho will have some struggles getting off of this little base setup right now. That's going to be seeing Hellions tanks +2 attack and +2 armor all building up. Just going to see a few Cyclones moving to the side. Ravager is moving up. Well, maxed out here is Lambo. He's got a lot of stuff coming through as well. Hive, Bane speed, melee upgrades as well. So he's improving his composition for the game going longer. So that's good. He's going to take down these rocks. Easier attacks in if he chooses to attack in. Cyclone lock-ons he kind of danced around with for a moment there. In the end, they just are able to go off. So a little bit annoying, but not far from the end of the world or anything, as PSCV is going down once again, just harassing the high ground with the Ravagers, making this base a little bit more problematic than it originally should have been. It's actually nice that he found that initially as being such a thing. Oh, that's a good catch. That's an armory that I don't think... Oh my god, that's +2, 6 seconds away. Oh my god, what a denial on the attack upgrade. It says 4 seconds, but actually that's even less, because that's in Blizzard seconds from when we had the old timers. So that's actually 2.5 seconds from finishing, and he gets the kill on it. Massive snipe on the armory at the perfect time of the game. And it is going to be Lambo moving into the center. Bane speed about ready. He's going to get ready to fight, but does he want to fight into 3 bases? Maybe not. As I was saying before, if you just wait until he takes 4 bases, your fight will be easier. So obviously maybe you give this Terran more time to set up. So that's kind of the question you're asking yourself here. Bottom right is taken by Lambo now too. He's got enough control of the game that taking a 5th base is not the problem it can usually be. And we saw earlier today, if you didn't see Young versus Dark, a great example of just how difficult it is to take a 5th base as a Zerg, and then later in the game a Terran on this map. And that's why it's actually nice that Lambo just has so much control, because his 5th base is going to go up without problems. And I think that's actually going to really aid him in maybe finding some finishing blows and some final touches to this game. And coming out of this with a W, although obviously those Corruptors are maybe not meant to be right there. Maybe not meant to be taking that kind of a position. Locking on for Corruptors once again, so those Corruptors taking a bit of a beating so far. Not having the best of times, huh? Well, there's no BCs out. He killed those earlier, so the Corruptors are right to kind of be out and kind of, you know, trying to find a fight. He was building a Great Aspire just now. I don't even think Broods are amazing. They can be nice at the right sort of timing, but I don't think it's something you need necessarily here as Lambo. So maybe it would be nice to keep the Corruptors to get a few Broods out, but yeah, it's this 4th base he wants to deny. He's going to start pushing in right now as GuMiho gets the 4th set up. The Bane's rolling forward here. They took a long time to really decide where they were going. Felt like they took a lot of unnecessary damage, and he does pile down a few tanks. Lambo is replacing what he's losing very quickly. And that's the problem, as he actually is just going to stop all of these fresh mules from mining as well. He does have these units a little bit stuck here maybe, though. You could argue that maybe they don't get out easily, and that could be expensive. Final few units going down and being a little bit more costly than this originally seemed like it was going to be. Just trying to escape away. Lambo just actually building more of the same. Actually, a lot of Lings. There's not a lot of Hellions right now, so Lings might be okay, but yeah, that positioning wasn't it. And actually, we did get into a little bit of a better position with the army as well, and a couple more Hellions showing up. So, nicely handled by GuMiho at the end there, just to make sure the Ling reinforcement wasn't going to be a game ender. With Banelings, might be a bit of a different story, though. GuMiho is getting towards maxing out. Like I say, the issue now should be that obviously taking a fifth base is actually really problematic too. So while Lambo's been able to get past that hurdle easily, that's a situation that GuMiho doesn't have to worry about for a while, but further down the line, it absolutely is an issue. If we get there, let's find out. Blind Cloud forces the Thors to miss some shots, and they just have to move command around for a while. Banes really want to get the SCVs. No! He turned away from all of the SCVs! All of the SCVs right there. He could have had so many more kills. Maybe wasn't even needed at the end, but yeah, it wasn't actually that many. He still killed 16. Okay, but I mean, those are kind of the fights that GuMiho is not as upset with. I know it's frustrating to think, oh god, you know, I've got to play this into like denying his 5th base, but I actually do think that's going to be the safer way to play this from Lambo. I feel like he's making his own life maybe a little bit more difficult by trying to be too aggressive too quickly right now. Gotta be careful about that. You don't want to, you know, be shooting yourself in the foot, losing yourself a game you've otherwise got won just because you don't want to play 10 minutes into this game. You just want to end the game right now. Double Thor drop is actually creating issues as Lambo's going to go again. This time he's got creep though. So these Banes, Roaches, and Ravages close the distance so much sooner. I love that he didn't use the Banes initially as well, and he's just going to run them between the tanks for a while. Then he actually did run them up, and they did lose track a little bit. So that's a little bit of a shame at the very end, but otherwise was a good effort with those Banes, keeping them alive for a while. Loses 14 drones though. This is where Corruptors would have been nice again to chase down those medevacs that are just dropping Thors, and that's a nice little something from GuMiho, making use of the fact that there is no anti-air currently on the map, so making the most of that. At the moment is just going to see our Thors chased away down at the bottom side. See where they go, as Lambo for the first time is having to think about actually defending that bottom right corner of the map. Suppose getting to anti-air mode as the Corruptors are going to chase the medevacs, but not going to be good enough. I say anti-air mode, I mean anti-splash mode, single target mode, basically better against Corruptors than the splash damage mode, which is like really good against mutas, for example. A little bit of a difference there as you do see Ling Roach Ravager back into the center. Another Ravager going to start morphing in already. We'll have ourselves a few Lings getting roasted. Baneland's going to start morphing too. Vikings and all the rest of it settling down as we've got ourselves Roach Ravager Viper. And I love the Abducts, obviously just makes this much more efficient for Lambo here. Up 40 supply right now, even getting siege tanks, which is taking away the backbone of this army. He'll lose one Viper, but that's kind of a cost you're just happy to pay. He absolutely paid for it with all of the units he was just able to make or get picks on. So yeah, shouldn't be too upset there. Ravager's going to end up turning around. So yeah, just backing this up once more, not wanting to go running in too quickly at all. 10 SCVs dropping as these Ravagers deny their space. So making up for some of the drones being lost on the side of Lambo. Really do feel like the bottom right might still be exposed enough for some Hellion run-bys and so on, but might just not get the chance to go there ever as, oh, these Ravagers are kind of dying. I feel like the big issue right now in this army of GuMiho is it's very Hellion focused. Lambo lost a lot and his supply drops heavily. He went a bit too far. But yeah, it's very Hellion focused, so if you get into a later stage of this game, as GuMiho right now, those Hellions, your supply isn't very representative of a very powerful army. It's a lot of buffer and not a lot of oomph, you know? So, something to consider as well as these supplies grow and GuMiho maybe start taking fights, that his supply shouldn't really look that great. Lambo again with this counterattack, keeping this base from mining. Again, still because of the nap, just has never had to worry about denying a 5th base, because the 5th base just feels denied naturally because it's so difficult to get a 5th base on Frost. Big fight, Baneling's coming through, Halbert's getting chased away. Big Blinding Cloud as well on top of that siege tank force. The Bane's obviously massive against that amount of Hellbats, and that is going to be Lambo giving the Shopify Rebellion a chance. And once again, that 4-2 victory, which is just a little bit more powerful than a 4-3. And obviously just avoids an ace match, which is generally good. It's not a guarantee they would win the ace match. Lambo. Up 1-0 on Lightshade now. Let's see what GuMiho brings to the table. I don't think this is a mech game. I think this is a bio game from GuMiho. Let's see. Top left will be Lambo, and the bottom right will be GuMiho. Obviously a map that both players will be a bit more used to playing competitively in the current meta, so we'll see what each of them wants to then hence bring. GuMiho in that bottom right representing SpeCial, looking to try and take them to an ace. It's always looked good for SpeCial today, you know. Well, I mean, initially it looked good for Shopify. They were up a game, and then MaxFax brought it back. He was behind against Bjorn and was able to get back into it. One big disruptor shot changed the way the game was playing. And then SpeCial looked great against Scarlett, but Scarlett was able to claw it back in game 2, and, well, now it's SpeCial definitely the ones under pressure to maybe make some moves to actually stay in this. Hatch, gas, and a spawning pool. No surprises on the build orders just yet, no proxy racks either, so very standard to begin with. Does Solo have 0 micro because of nukes? I feel like nuke ability might be a whole new category. How likely is a nuke to kill this guy's entire army? Solar, 12. Everyone else like a 1 or 2. It's bringing all their ratings down, but Solar's like a 12. He's the first player, he's got like the highest rating overall in the league. It's like, well, why? It's like, well, his army gets nuked all the time. Game 6, Lambo with the chance to shut this all up for the day. Our first week at World Team League would be in the books if Lambo wins this game. I love that we've had great stories and all the rest of it already so far. Upset of the World Team League ever, I think. When Team GP beat Dragon Phoenix Gaming today, by the way. Cham 2-0'd Rogue and beat Dark in the ace match to give Team GP a match when they have not beaten a non-bottom 3 team. I don't know how far back it goes. I mean, definitely last season they only beat the 2 teams at the bottom of the table, so the 2 bottom 2 teams. They did play in the Fall Championship as well, where they went... where did they go? In the regular season back the time before. They lost, and an ace match to Jinne lost, and they beat Bravestar. So they had 1 match that they've won, Team GP. Like, it's the first time they've won a match against a non-bottom 2 team in like a year, basically, of Team League matches. It's really sick for Team GP. What an upset that was. Yeah, GuMiho won a GSL, guys. A while back. He was one of the guys to give Sue a 2nd place finish. He used mech to his advantage and his builds to his advantage in that series for sure. That was an amazing storyline. GuMiho winning a GSL. He really got like the matchups that worked so well for him on his way there as well. Going to be seeing our Hellion count still growing as a Lara on the way early. Overlord gets denied. It is a 3cc. So obviously GuMiho not ultra aggressive this time. And there is the stim. Like I said, I feel like with the map pick, made sense for this to be a bio game. If you wanted to play mech, there's better maps to choose in the pool. So not too surprised to see it being a stim pack upgrade beginning here this time around for GuMiho, changing that up a little bit from what we saw previously. Viking getting some damage done, pushing the Overlords back a bit, as Lambo is going to play the Roach Roam with this lair as well, by the way, so he's going to end up playing a Roach style now. Something a little different. Once again. Overlord still being chased around by this Viking, and three Queens on the way over. They want to try and put an end to this, and they will start to push that Viking away just a little bit. So Viking does get pushed out of there. Was the scout of the Roach Roam, so GuMiho knows he's up against Roaches. Let's see how exactly Lambo wants to try and play this. Viking lands in the main base, trying to put a little bit more pressure on wherever possible, so just dealing a little bit of damage here and there. We're going to be having ourselves the Ravager's morphing as well. Bane that's now coming down, so we're going to get ready to play kind of Roach Ravager Bane as the game goes on. You definitely want to introduce those Banelings to the composition if you're going to keep on playing against Bio. That's not really too surprising or anything, really. Things just moving through, and they're going to get themselves into a little bit of a setup initially too, trying to see what they can get up to in so far. Not a lot just yet, as we do have Roach Ravager defensively looking good. We're going to drop melee upgrades and missile upgrades, so no carapace for now, as that infestation pit continues in as well. It's just setting up into a lot of that for the moment here. Are going to be forced back at the same time, so yeah, damage all over the place here so far. As we again get ourselves set up a little bit, seeing how these Marines will do as Lings run forward on top of them. Corrosive Bile is just going to force the Medivacs to really move away from that, not going to be able to sit this position out at all. And that will be kind of it for the moment. Still from GuMiho, not really finding himself too many chances to be aggressive at all this game so far. It's been pretty heavily shut down for the most part there. Now we've got the larger push coming as Lambo gets himself set up to try and defend against this as well. We'll see maybe what he can get up to, as tanks take a good spot, and in between the bases, Lambo has to take a fight pretty much right now, because otherwise he's going to lose his bases. And obviously that's a little bit of a no-go. So in we go. Ravager's going to come through. They're going to get the tanks for free almost. Now he loses a bunch of drones to begin with here as well. So drones definitely taking some hefty damage to start. Yeah, I mean, 13 workers is obviously brutal, but at least he cleaned up a bunch of the tanks. I mean, there are some positives to all of this at least. As those feelings get chased away once again. Well, army of GuMiho will start moving forward just slightly. He really is just trying to keep these pushes rolling. Lambo's already on his way to Vipers. That's going to help a whole bunch. Absolutely wants to get that count increasing wherever possible. There we go, attack. Moving into position. Marines, tank getting set up here. Feelings running initially. A lot of this depends on the fight from Lambo. He's got a lot of units in production, so he maybe doesn't want to pull the trigger immediately right now, but definitely wants to be taking some steps towards it. Vipers are ready to go. Here we go. The fight is going to be starting out. Bane's rolling through. Actually looking pretty reasonable initially as well. I mean, Lambo is kind of just crushing this. GuMiho has a bit of an attack on the other side, but don't really think that's doing anywhere near enough damage, and I'll say this is looking pretty good for Lambo. He's just clearing up these armies, not letting GuMiho get the damage done, which he kind of needs to with the setups he's putting himself into. Definitely looks as though Lambo's, I mean, he's going to be still maxed out here. 150 supply of GuMiho. We'll see if he can hold on and maybe keep on making this a bit of a competitive game. Obviously, it's never over for a Terran until the Zerg really breaks them. And Lambo's army is one that could maybe headbutt in a few times and not quite get the killing blow. So GuMiho will definitely not be in a rush to get out of this game. He's going to stick around for a while and stick this out. And it's not a great fight for Lambo initially. He does get one Baneling to connect, though. And that one Baneling makes such a world of difference, too. Like, the difference that one Bane makes is actually gigantic. Really helps to push that back. Another drop here. Jumped on top of immediately, and some of these Marines don't have a medevac to go into, so that's Marine losses right away for GuMiho. Now Lambo is set up to maybe deny the bases here as well, so absolutely looking to keep some damage rolling on out. Yeah, looking pretty good, I gotta say. I think for Lambo still moves on in. He will probably get this entire mineral line, right? So GuMiho's going to lose a ton of economy. And he has got a counterattack up top, GuMiho. We'll see if that can do anything, as he's got units streaming in towards his base. Obviously, does not look pretty right now. Not in the freaking slightest. Roach, Ravager, Ultra continuing to break down the front line here. As we are going to have ourselves, I think Lambo just taking the victory right here and now. Don't think there's much else to be said about it just yet. We are going to have a few SCPs already dead, 27 of them, and no counter damage being done. GuMiho is going to tap out, and Lambo is going to give Shopify Rebellion their first win of the season. It got a little dangerous, but not too out of control. Felt like it was pretty well controlled throughout for the most part. And there is the Shopify Rebellion confirming their victory. It is going to be a 4-2 victory for